The Law of One Session 61, July 8, 1981.
Ra, I am Ra. I greet you, my friends, in the love and in the light of the infinite Creator. We communicate now.
Questioner, could you give me an indication of the instrument's condition?
Ra, I am Ra. This instrument's vital energies are improving. The physical complex distortions are quite marked at this space/time, and there is a decrease in physical complex energies.
Questioner, is there anything in particular that the instrument could do to improve the physical condition?
Ra, I am Ra. This instrument has two factors affecting its bodily distortions. This is in common with all those which by seniority of vibration have reached the green ray level of vibratory consciousness complexes. The first is the given INST reamings, which vary from cycle to cycle in predictable manner. In this particular entity, the cyclical complexes at this space/time nexus are not favorable for the physical energy levels. The second ramification of condition is that which we might call the degree of mental efficiency in use of catalyst provided for the learning of programmed lessons in particular and the lessons of love in general. This instrument, unlike some entities, has some further distortion due to the use of pre-incarnative conditions.
Questioner, can you expand on what you meant by the cycling INST reamings of energy?
Ra, I am Ra. There are four types of cycles, which are those given in the moment of entry into incarnation. There are in addition more cosmic and less regularized inpourings which, from time to time, affect a sensitized mind/body/spirit complex. The four rhythms are, to some extent, known among your peoples and are called biorhythms. There is a fourth cycle which we may call the cycle of gateway of magic of the adept or of the spirit. This is a cycle which is completed in approximately 18 of your diurnal cycles. The cosmic patterns are also a function of the moment of incarnative entrance and have to do with your satellite you call the moon, your planets of this galaxy, the galactic sun, and in some cases the INST reamings from the major galactic points of energy flow.
Questioner, would it be helpful to plot the cycles for the instrument and attempt to have these sessions at the most favorable points with respect to the cycle?
Ra, I am Ra. To that specific query we have no response. It may be noted that the three in this triad bring in this energy pattern which is Ra. Thus each energy input of the triad is of note. We may say that while these information systems are interesting, they are in sway only insofar as the entity or entities involved have not made totally efficient use of catalyst and, therefore, instead of accepting the, shall we say, negative or retrograde moments or periods without undue notice, have the distortion towards the retaining of these distortions in order to work out the unused catalyst. It is to be noted that psychic attack continues upon this entity, although it is only effective at this time in physical distortions towards discomfort. We may suggest that it is always of some interest to observe the road map, both of the cycles and of the planetary and other cosmic influences, in that one may see certain wide roads or possibilities. However, we remind that this group is an unit.
Questioner, is there some way that we could, as a unit then, do something to reduce the effect of the psychic attack on the instrument and optimize the communicative opportunity?
Ra, I am Ra. We have given you the information concerning that which aids this particular mind/body/spirit complex. We can speak no further. It is our opinion, which we humbly offer, that each is in remarkable harmony with each for this particular third density illusion at this space/time nexus.
Questioner, I want to ask a few questions Jim had here about the healing exercises. The first is, in the healing exercise concerning the body, what do you mean by the disciplines of the body having to do with the balance between love and wisdom in the use of the body in its natural functions?
Ra, I am Ra. We shall speak more briefly than usual due to this instrument's use of the transferred energy. We, therefore, request further queries if our reply is not sufficient. The body complex has natural functions. Many of these have to do with the unmanifested self and are normally not subject to the need for balancing. There are natural functions which have to do with other self. Among these are touching, loving, the sexual life, and those times when the company of another is craved to combat the type of loneliness which is the natural function of the body as opposed to those types of loneliness which are of the mind/emotion complex or of the spirit. When these natural functions may be observed in the daily life, they may be examined in order that the love of self and love of other self versus the wisdom regarding the use of natural functions may be observed. There are many fantasies and stray thoughts which may be examined in most of your peoples in this balancing process. Equally to be balanced is the withdrawal from the need for these natural functions with regard to other self. On the one hand, there is an excess of love. It must be determined whether this is love of self or other self or both. On the other hand, there is an overbalance towards wisdom. It is well to know the body complex so that it is an ally, balanced and ready to be clearly used as a tool, for each bodily function may be used in higher and higher, if you will, complexes of energy with other self. No matter what the behavior, the important balancing is the understanding of each interaction on this level with other selves so that whether the balance may be love/wisdom or wisdom/love, the other self is seen by the self in a balanced configuration and the self is thus freed for further work.
Questioner, second question, could you give an example of how feelings affect portions of the body and the sensations of the body?
Ra, I am Ra. It is nearly impossible to speak generally of these mechanisms, for each entity of proper seniority has its own programming. Of the less aware entities we may say that the connection will often seem random as the higher self continues producing catalyst until a bias occurs. In each programmed individual the sensitivities are far more active and, as we have said, that catalyst not used fully by the mind and spirit is given to the body. Thus you may see in this entity the numbing of the arms and the hands signifying this entity's failure to surrender to the loss of control over the life. Thus this drama is enacted in the physical distortion complex. In the questioner we may see the desire not to be carrying the load it carries given as physical manifestation of the soreness of those muscles for carrying used. That which is truly needed to be carried is a pre-incarnative responsibility which seems highly inconvenient. In the case of the scribe we see a weariness and numbness of feelings ensuing from lack of using catalyst designed to sensitize this entity to quite significant influxes of unfamiliar distortion complexes of the mental/emotional and spiritual level. As the numbness removes itself from the higher or more responsive complexes, the bodily complex distortions will vanish. This is true also of the other examples. We would note at this time that the totally efficient use of catalyst upon your plane is extremely rare.
Questioner, could you tell me how you are able to give us information like this with respect to the first distortion or law of confusion?
Ra, I am Ra. Each of those is already aware of this information. Any other reader may extract the heart of meaning from this discussion without interest as to the example's sources. If each was not fully aware of these answers we could not speak. It is interesting that in many of your queries you ask for confirmation rather than information. This is acceptable to us.
Questioner, this brings out the point of the purpose for the physical incarnation, I believe. And that is to reach a conviction through your own thought processes as to a solution to problems and understandings in a totally unbiased or totally free situation with no proof at all or anything that you would consider proof, proof being a very poor word in itself. Can you expand on my concept?
Ra, I am Ra. Your opinion is an eloquent one, although somewhat confused in its connections between the freedom expressed by subjective knowing and the freedom expressed by subjective acceptance. There is a significant distinction between the two. This is not a dimension of knowing, even subjectively, due to the lack of overview of cosmic and other inpourings which affect each and every situation which produces catalyst. The subjective acceptance of that which is at the moment and the finding of love within that moment is the greater freedom. That known as the subjective knowing without proof is, in some degree, a poor friend, for there will be anomalies no matter how much information is garnered due to the distortions which form third density.
Questioner: Okay. The third question I have here is, could you give examples of bodily polarity?
Ra, I am Ra. Within the body there are many polarities which relate to the balancing of the energy centers of the various bodies of the unmanifested entity. It is well to explore these polarities for work in healing. Each entity is, of course, a potential polarized portion of another self.
Questioner: It says here it would seem the proper balancing exercises for all the sensations of the body would be some form of inactivity such as meditation or contemplation. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. This is largely incorrect. The balancing requires a meditative state in order for the work to be done. However, the balancing of sensation has to do with an analysis of the sensation with a special respect to any unbalanced leaning between the love and the wisdom or the positive and the negative. Then whatever is lacking in the balanced sensation is, as in all balancing, allowed to come into the being after the sensation is remembered and recalled in such detail as to overwhelm the senses.
Questioner: Could you tell me why it is important for the appurtenances and other things to be so carefully aligned with respect to the instrument, and why just a small ruffle in the sheet by the instrument causes a problem with the reception of Ra?
Ra, I am Ra. We may attempt an explanation. This contact is narrow-band. The instrument is highly sensitive. Thus we have good entry into it and can use it to an increasingly satisfactory level. However, the trance condition is, shall we say, not one which is without toll upon this instrument. Therefore, the area above the entrance into the physical complex of this instrument must be kept clear to avoid discomfort to the instrument, especially as it re-enters the body complex. The appurtenances give to the instrument sensory input and mental visualization which aid in the trance beginning. The careful alignment of these is important for the energizing group in that it is a reminder to that support group that it is time for a working. The ritualistic behaviors are triggers for many energies of the support group. You may have noticed more energy being used in workings as the number has increased due to the long-term, shall we say, effect of such ritualistic actions. This would not aid another group as it was designed for this particular system of mind/body/spirit complexes and especially the instrument. There is enough energy transferred for one more long query. We do not wish to deplete this instrument.
Questioner: Okay, then I will ask this one. Could you tell us the purpose of the frontal lobes of the brain and the conditions necessary for their activation?
Ra, I am Ra. The frontal lobes of the brain will, shall we say, have much more use in fourth density. The primary mental/emotive condition of this large area of the so-called brain is joy or love in its creative sense. Thus, the energies which we have discussed in relationship to the pyramids, all of the healing, the learning, the building, and the energizing are to be found in this area. This is the area tapped by the adept. This is the area which, working through the trunk and root of mind, makes contact with intelligent energy and through this gateway, intelligent infinity. Are there any queries before we leave this instrument?
Questioner: Only, is there anything we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or improve the contact?
Ra, I am Ra. This instrument is somewhat distorted, but each is doing well. You are conscientious. We thank you for continuing to observe the alignments and request that on each level you continue to be this fastidious, as this will maintain the contact. I am Ra. I leave you in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, my friends, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one infinite Creator. Adonai.